Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Lagos State. Good morning from wherever you're watching us from. Welcome to West Breakfast, where we believe that every day deserves a delicious start. As we all know, it's a youth-minded program where we discuss everything worth having a discussion about, and these varies relating to Nigeria and abroad, from mentorship, from governance, leadership, politics, mental health, AI innovations, trendy issues. Everything goes down on this table. And as always, we do not just have these conversations by ourselves. We bring in expert guests to contribute their quota and views to our conversation. My name is Omotoshola Sharimaki, and with me are my ladies. Good morning, ladies.
Hi, good morning.
How are we all doing? Let's start from there.
Whew.
That's what I want to say.
I don't want to answer first.
Okay, God's beauty.
Let's start with her.
I'm not feeling anything.
Gosh.
This is
I was
interesting.
just there like yesterday. I'm not feeling anything.
Something that you guys don't get to always hear. I mean, waking up early in the morning, getting to the bus. But of course, when the light comes on our faces, the energy just comes. I guess we're good to go. I'm speaking on behalf of the house. We did not want to talk.
I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
Is that it for you all?
Yeah,
That's it.
that's
Don't call me so much
I get it. I think for me, it's Wednesday. The week is going on smooth. I think have more of a mentally busy schedule than a physically busy schedule. I don't know. It feels like you're doing a whole lot. And to be honest, you're doing a whole lot. But I think doing it is not as stressful as thinking about it. Right. Well, it's a new day, and today we are talking about mental health. But if you are yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV, click the subscribe button now. Oh yeah, let's lie that I want to do giveaway, so you would subscribe. Click the subscribe button now, like and share the link to family and friends. Today we will be discussing finding the right resources for mental health support. We will be joined later by an esteemed mental health enthusiast to dissect this topic. But right now, let's take this break. We'll return with our headlines across the globe. Please be on standby. Glad to have you back from that break. Now let's take a look at the news from the pages of today's newspaper. Today we have the Vanguard, we have the Punch newspaper, the Guardian newspaper, the Daily Trust, and of course the New York Times. I will be starting from the page of the Guardian newspaper, where the major headline reads 48 naira per dollar, $48 per barrel production cost, drowns 60% of Nigerians' oil earnings. And there's this description of a production site, a oil refinery with different states in a circle. Then they listed some states. They said production cost per barrel per country. Libya $1, Iraq $10 to $20, Angola $20, Brazil $35, Nigeria $48, among others. Nigeria's $10 per barrel production cost target is an aspiration undermined by insecurity, inefficiency, logistic, overhead cost, corruption, and regulatory challenges. Away from that, the next headline I'd like to touch on is 900 days on. CDHR tax Sanwo-Olu's justice for late Bamishe, which is the girl that was killed, that was murdered by BRT bus one time. So it's been 900 days already. No justice, nothing, nothing. Away from that, arrest Nigerian CSOs unions urge to reject authoritarianism under Tinubu's regime. Food insecurity, federal government banks on dry season farming as flood devastates northeast. Tinubu to meet Jinping overrode rail project office. Xi Jinping, President Tinubu will be traveling to Chinese again to discuss about the rail project and also about the seized, confiscated things by Nigeria. Then we also have some headlines that read, residents of Rivers community flee over fresh oil spill. Marginalization, good governance or additional 18 state. Telephone service quality may drop as telecoms consider load shedding. And finally, IMF hints Nigeria's 3.1% economic growth outlook on stronger reforms. For more of this, go to the page of the Guardian newspaper.
For the punch. Before then, I just remember that there was this conversation we had about the seized jet stuff. I'd almost forgotten about it. Just shows you how in our country we have new things coming up every day. All right, so for the punch, the major headline reads, Governor slammed for wasting 160 billion naira on unviable airports. Nasarawa, Yobe, others beg federal government to take over airports shunned by airlines. Below that, it says AMCON sets to sell Ibadan disco, and IG vows to rescue 2,149 kidnapped victims. Lagos conduct Red Line Rail test run today, and external auditors to examine NNPC 2.6 trillion naira subsidy claim. Abure OT on collision costs over LP and NWC tenure, and Lagos Calabar Highway demolition. 100 landowners team up for fresh legal war. Honestly, nothing is really catching my interest here, but I'll just give you the full story of the airport's waste. So it says here that 6 state governments, including Ekiti, Ebonyi, Jigawa, Yobe, Nasarawa, and Bayelsa, have spent about 160 billion on airport projects that opposition politicians and aviation professionals classified as unviable. So stakeholders say the huge public funds expended on the facilities have amounted to waste. They condemned the state governors and asked Nigerians to hold them responsible for the waste. You can check up the full story on the punch. What's amazing here is that we're not the ones calling them out now. It's other officials that are calling them out and asking us to hold them responsible.
Let's look at the Daily Trust.
So the newspaper you can trust, that's the Daily Trust newspaper. And I'll begin with the major headline, Mpox spreads to 19 states, cases now 40. Under that, we have Lagos raises alarm over new variants from African nations. FG intensifies surveillance. US donates 10,000 vaccine doses in Nigeria. And so under that, we have FG yet to pay us promised wage award. Pensioners cry out. Herders, farmers, clash claims 5 lives in Niger. Kano govs seeks Assembly's approval for 99 billion supplementary budgets. So on top of the newspaper, we have Labour Party in fresh crisis as OT summons emergency NEC meeting. Beside that, NFF confirms German Labadia and Super Eagles coach. And lastly, we have NIREC urges action against killings, abduction. So I'm going to talk about the major headline with Mpox spreads to 19 states, cases now 14. But this is not the first time we're talking about something like this. It's just to show you that this is actually a very serious case right now. So the current Mpox outbreak in Nigeria has spread to 30 local government areas in 19 states and the Federal Capital Territory with 40 confirmed cases so far. A report from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention also showed that there are so far a total of 802 suspected cases in 33 states of the Federation. The situation report was released a few days before the United States government donated 10,000 doses of Mpox vaccines to Nigeria. Now, the WHO and the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention had declared mpox a public health emergency of international and continental concern. So they found out that the outbreak has been linked to a new strain of mpox virus which emerged in the eastern Congo and has since been detected in other countries, including Kenya, Rwanda, and Uganda. So now the local states, the Lagos state government has come out to say that they don't want this mpox to fully reach Nigeria, maybe through shipping or airway. So we should all they're finding measures to help prevent the spread, and they're also making sure that there are more centers for this kind of emergency. They're providing more centers for this mpox emergency in Nigeria, and they're also going to come out to give a little bit of, let's say, lecture or enlightening on how to keep yourself and maybe, just hold yourself in for this mpox, basically.
I believe that soon mpox would or should be a thing of the past because it's getting scary at this point in time.
It's giving COVID-19
Yeah.
too.
We have 10,000 vaccines that have been donated.
Already to Nigeria.
How sure are you? Have you seen it?
The
It's not about-
paper that we can trust mentioned.
Have we seen it?
The paper we can trust mentioned, so we believe
But
that.
I mean,
We will not say it in Jesus' name, please.
like I said yesterday, we just have to be very intentional. You get what I'm saying? So even if all of these policies are already put in place, we still need intentionality, because it's one thing to say, thank God you said finding. So it's more like it's something that they are just working on or they are about to work on. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's intentionality and they working on it, not working, not like they're still thinking about it or deliberating on it. I feel like this is already here. Do you get what I'm saying? You know, yesterday I spoke about, a country that for 2 years now, they have not even gotten the vaccines. But I thank God that at least we have some leverage and we've gotten about, according to, the Daily Trust newspaper.
Let's trust them.
So I just hope that, all of these things they're already put in place, they're being intentional about it.
And then we also need to trust our leaders. I know they can be trusted, but let's give them that doubt, that benefit of doubt.
The benefit of is, do you understand? The benefit of the doubt is we just staying quiet and watching what they are doing. I feel like that's enough already, to be honest. All right, let's quickly go back to the New York Times. Left side of the newspaper has a website. It's far from a tourist in the Mid East. Wars with neighbors have no end in sight. All right, but the right side of the newspaper, if you are looking, it says Russian air raid reminds Ukraine of enemy's might, energy grid damage. All right, but the middle of the newspaper, just below the first picture we're seeing on the newspaper, it has 1 million tit bus fed daily, falling MTA. And just next to that, we have the wounded troops find a home and bid for gold. All right, beneath that, we have the Latinos site, pure intimidation from voters fraud raids in Texas. All right, just next to that, which is the last headline of the newspaper, we have Telegram founder anti-authority attitude made him a target. So the headline I want to quickly touch on is the one of the Telegram. So we have the owner that Pavel Durov was originally warned by the Russian government more than a decade ago, to shut down pages of his social media site that was used by opposition politicians, right? Now, the government warned him to block these pages, likely because they were critical of the authority and supported dissenting views. Now, instead of complying, Durov refused and even made a public joke about the request, showing that he wasn't afraid to challenge the government. Now, this attitude, standing up against government, has actually, with censor and control, has actually come back to, hit him. Now, years later, this rebellious attitude appears to have put him in trouble again. This time in France, he was arrested as part of an investigation into criminal activities on Telegram. The messaging app he founded. Telegram's approach is not heavily policing its users' content, has made it a target for government concern about illegal activities happening on the platform. So Durov was directly warned recently. The warning came years ago from Russia, but his ongoing resistance to government control over digital platforms have continued to create conflict with authorities, leading to his current arrest. Everybody must have seen, this was on social media since last week, honestly speaking, right? So I'm even surprised that it's still on the still on the news. It showed that they are still holding him ransom. I mean, if you check this, I'm not even a fan of Telegram, right? To be honest, because I mean, what am I even doing there? But you would see that many criminal activities actually happen there because it's even more safer than WhatsApp. It's actually more safer than WhatsApp. If you have spoken to maybe those people that are into this Yahoo or fraud kind of thing, even down to drug trafficking, human trafficking, and all of those things, it's been done there without anybody. And if the owner of the app has refused to link information where nobody can, I mean, it's end-to-end encrypted. Do you get what I'm saying? So nobody knows what's going there except the owner and probably the people that that constructed the app. But apart from that, the government doesn't know what's going on there, and this is where it's more like their chamber or their meeting space. So if anybody has any criminal activities to be carried out right now, they just need to go and get themselves the app. Do you get what I'm saying? And every other thing will be passing on. So the fact that he feels like it's okay for these criminal activities to be going on, probably because I mean he's making his own money.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So he's less concerned about whether anybody gets harmed, using this app or so. But I just feel like there are two things here. Now that he's arrested, it's either he listened to the government and take out all of those things, and maybe not stop the probably just kind of do whatever he has to do to ensure that the information don't leak, kind of thing.
I get you, God's beauty, and if there's one conversation I look forward to having on Fridays about data privacy.
Okay.
Because in a way, what he's doing is good and it's also very bad. This is the same thing Elon Musk is fighting for.
Yes.
Right.
I agree.
So Telegram is just that channel. We really need to wrap up because we need to bring in our guests in the next 5 minutes. Telegram is an app that betting platforms, they are there, Pornhubs, they are there, film piracies, they are there. Everything you can think of is there, and this is because of the type of data privacy they are running. But this is also the same time that Elon Musk is looking for. So are we saying that if Elon Musk should finally get it and bring it to X, he will probably get arrested or something? But then we'll have the conversation with a data privacy analyst to fully buttress it for us. We'll go on this quick break. When we return, we'll be bringing back our co-guest, or should I say anchor guest, to have this conversation around finding right resources for mental health. Please be on standby. I'll be back shortly.
Hey guys, it's Oluchi for Ways Breakfast. Thanks for always tuning in. Our research has shown that you're probably not subscribed to our channel. What are you waiting for? Make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you never miss out on our latest content and stay in the loop with all things Ways. If the channel grows, it means more great content for you guys. So hit that subscribe button now.
Glad to have you back here, still on to West Breakfast, hashtag what are you saying? As mentioned earlier, we will be discussing finding the right resources for mental health support. You may not be aware, but a lot of people struggle with their mental health in different parts of the world. These mental health issues, such as anxiety, depression, stress, have affected many individuals negatively in their daily activities and overall happiness. This is why today we are looking to identify effective resources, including counseling services as well as support groups that can provide necessary help to tackle such issues. Mr. Uwagwu Daniel, a mental health enthusiast, is joining us via Zoom to have this conversation. He is the outgoing president of the Student Association of Professional Counselors in Nigeria, a researcher, and of course, a relationship enthusiast. Good morning to you, Daniel. Glad to have you join us.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
The players all ours. So this morning we are talking about mental health, and we are not leaving you to do all the conversations by yourselves. I mean, we'll be inputting one or two that we know, but you'll be giving us your expert view, your experience view on all of these matters. So now I'd like to ask the first major question. What exactly is mental health? Oh, at what point do I know that I'm already having mental health issues? Right now, the word is being thrown around. Everybody's having mental health issue. Oh, my mental health is at stake. Oh gosh, I can't breathe and all of that. So at what point do we now say, okay, this is when you start to notice this, then it's a mental health breakdown?
Okay. Firstly, I think one thing we need to know is our bodies are divided into two, right? We have the physical and then the mental. So the physical part is where we pay most of the attention. That is in regards to our health, what we eat, when we have accidents, when we have burns, when we have cuts. Those are our physical health. Now, the mental health, on the other hand, is like the powerhouse, which affects the brain, affects our mind, affects our thinking, affects our perception, affects our memory, affects our cognitive processing. So this is what mental health simply is about. That is safeguarding that aspect of our bodies or that aspect of our life to ensure that it helps us perform maximally and our productivity is not reduced. So mental health is simply that part of our being that has to do with our processing, our thinking for day-to-day activities, protecting it, safeguarding it, and making sure that it is healthy. Because most times, the attention is paid, like I said, the attention is paid more on our bodies, on our physical bodies. Anytime you have anything at all, whatever it is, an accident, a cut, your body immediately sends signals to your brain, and that brings in your information from past memories, from past experiences, and that can lead to trauma. That is why you see a child that had childhood trauma. When they grow up to become adults, when they experience things like heartbreak, when they experience things like accidents, it brings back some of those early experiences they've had that are traumatic, and it begins to affect them today. Most of the issues we have today didn't just start today, they started from the past. So that is to tell you that our minds are very powerful. The mental part of our body or the mental part of our being is the most important aspect. I like to say something. I say if you lose everything, try not to lose your mind, because you can lose your hand, you can lose your leg, you can lose your eye, but you can still perform optimally given the right circumstances, given the right assistance. That's why we have disabled persons that are still functioning in our society effectively. We have Kobams Asuko. He doesn't have eyes,
Yeah.
but he plays music beautifully. Now imagine when a person loses their mind. No matter how much money you have no idea of it. There are cases where you have people who are very wealthy, and then all of a sudden they have a mental crisis. The common one is schizophrenia. The common one is schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is when you have distorted reality, where you're having illusions, right? For such a person, no matter the amount of money they have in their accounts, no matter the kind of life they have lived, once they have lost it in the place of their mental health, then they have lost everything. They don't care about what they have because they don't even know they have that much. So now this is to tell you that what the mental part of our being is actually even more important than our physical part, contrary to how we take things. It is not in this part of the world we actually take mental health seriously, because we believe that once you have mental health, you just need to eat, or you need to sleep, or you need to see your pastor, or you need to pray, and then it's gone, which is actually not true. Mental health is something that affects every aspect of our life, just like our mind is needed to perform maximally, is needed to perform productively in our day-to-day life. That is how important it is to safeguard and to protect our mental health.
Thank you, Daniel. As this conversation proceeds, we'll be going more into the practicality of these entire mental health issues. You said something the other time that there's upbringing. It doesn't just start. It has always been there. It has been registered in your mind, and it's taking me back to daddy issues, because right now on social media space there are a lot of daddy issues conversation. Oh, daddy did this as a child. It's affecting my choice of decision making in life. But then let me hold my thought for a bit, and then Oluchi, you wanted to say something.
Yes, I was remembering a conversation I had with somebody just over the weekend, and the person mentioned something that, it doesn't really tally with what we're propagating when it comes to mental health. The person was like, this whole mental health thing is being dragged, and we are just overboard with it. Everybody's just my mental health, my mental health. Any small financial crisis, people want to say is my mental health. Any small heartbreak, my mental health, and all of that. But the way the person was speaking, I felt like there was something wrong with having that kind of conclusion, because it means that if you're even having this kind of assumption on what mental health is or not, that means you can't even note or pinpoint when somebody is actually having a breakdown. And like you have mentioned, you're so right. Mental health is an ongoing problem. I mean, caring for our health is an ongoing problem, and it affects everyone, the rich, the poor, and what have you. And it's also a myth, I think, to feel like mental health affects only the rich people. I don't know why I feel like it's only rich people that, because rich is looking at me with a contrary. But I've heard some people feel like mental health stuff is related to rich people. I mean, how many poor people do you know would understand what schizophrenia is, or anxiety, or depression?
That doesn't mean you're not passing through.
Yes,
it's just a big word.
But many times they would like to relate it more to financial issues and crises. Do you understand? But it looks like as if a particular class of people are the ones that identify more. That's what I'm trying to say with mental health compared to other class. Exactly. But I feel like as more awareness is being created, we should understand that it affects all kinds of people, children inclusive, teenagers, adults, elderly people, people who are retired. Do you know that? Grandparents, elderly people. Everybody has one issue or the other to face, and it should be something that we should encourage. It should be discussion that we should not wave away. It should be a discussion that we should not say, let spiritual authorities handle, or eat and you'll be fine. There's not everything that food can cure. There are big and deep issues that really needs to be spoken about. So that's like what I have to say.
Thank you. Sonto.
When you said that people that have mental health, like people will just come to them and tell them to take maybe drugs or go and meet the pastor or go to hospital or go and sleep, you're not being serious type of talk. Well, a lot of people that have mental health, people don't take them seriously. That's not it today something. Like if I come out and say I'm depressed, people will look at me somehow like something's definitely wrong with me. Like, why am I coming out? That kind of way they will look at me is not normal. Do you think this is probably maybe one of the reasons why people that have mental health issues do not come out to say they have mental health issues, do not try to work on it or fix it or something like that? Or you feel that there are other things that are stopping them from coming out and solving this issue themselves?
Okay, you see, the truth is, when the moment you start having a mental breakdown, you will know. That's the first thing, you will know. The only problem we have is making it known to an expert or taking the right steps to make sure that we come out of that problem. Nigerians by nature, we are very resilient, we are very consistent, we are very everything, in fact. So we try to be strong and see some of these things as distraction. Now, the issue is I think is much better with women, because in Africa, women are not so burdened with the responsibility of being a man. That being a man concept, where when you have a little challenge, you are just told to be a man. Even if it's big, be a man. You don't have to let all your problems out. So one of the issues regarding getting the right help, is being aware that you have a problem and you need solution. Once you are aware that you have a problem, because that's one thing we are trying to do. I belong to a non-governmental organization, Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative. That's money. What we do is to enlighten people about mental health, also identify when they are having mental breakdown, and how to find self-help. Because the best help you can get for now in Nigeria is self-help. Because the three ways to get help for mental health issues is through medicine, through psychological interventions, and then through social interventions. Social interventions like small support groups in communities. Psychological interventions such as going to see a psychologist, going to see a counselor or a psychiatrist, and medical interventions such as taking drugs like antidepressants and the rest of them. Those are the three major ones. But of these three, absence is the one which is most effective for Nigerians for now, because we don't have so many mental health outlets. We don't have so much awareness in the area of mental health. We don't have so many experts available to render free service for mental health. Like like what you said earlier, like mental health has seemed to be linked to the rich people only. You see it as a rich man's illness. Let me be sure I'm not deviating from the question. Am I on track?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so
Okay, so we see it as okay, you can come again. With him.
okay, so I wanted to talk a bit about the daddy issues she mentioned earlier because I mean, okay, so
Okay.
I was watching this movie where
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm still go on.
Okay, so I think I was watching a movie where he was acting the way he was acting because of as a result of the things he passed through, like in his childhood, right? And I mean, you will not hear people say that why are you acting the way you're acting because of what you went through, when you're growing up. That you're supposed to be growing up, so you're supposed to, know what is right, know what is wrong, and just work ahead. And you hear cases, I mean, if you listen to most of those people that are into prostitution or, the hookup culture and all of that, most of them end up blaming their parents or their childhood or their growing up, we came from a poor background, so we had to do everything to make money and all of that. But I mean, they're now setting people that regardless of what they went through, even with their daddy issues, you see them strive, you got nothing on them. You see them okay. You see them mentally fit and all of that. So I want to just understand what went wrong, with those people that kind of just, I mean, okay, let me even use this very good example that every one of us are aware of. You see a man that is probably beating his wife and all of that, but when you now check through, okay, how did this person end up beating? It's either he was neglected from the house. It's either his father does that to his mom. Is that, there must definitely be an abuser in the home that made him to, grow and feel like, okay, this is how my grow up was like and all of that. I just want to understand what went wrong and how did these certain persons that turn out well, how were they able to change their mentality, change their mindset from, okay, I know this is wrong and this is how I think things should be.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, looking at the opinion from leading psychologists, I'm talking of early psychologists like Sigmund Freud, Carl Rogers, Alfred Adler. These people have postulated that our adulthood is only a function of the first 5 years, the experiences from the first 5 years of our childhood. So whatever we are today is a product of our constellation, constellation, right? So that means whatever you experience from your childhood, whatever kind of dynamics you have in your family, it will tell in the person you become eventually. Now, while we will see many people who may have had rough childhood still adjusting adequately to society, is because they have unlearned and they have relearned. A lot of people don't have the ability to do that. A lot of people don't have the resources to do that. All we know how to do is to move forward, to go. Now, that's how you see people who eventually break free from some of these things. It's not total. That's just the truth. It's not total. It just happens to an extent where they can manage some of these things and they can turn it into a purposeful story for themselves, change narrative for themselves, and it becomes something very meaningful. Some people who read self-help books, it just happens accidentally that you see them having some irrational thoughts from childhood, and then somehow it gets corrected. Daddy issues in Nigeria today is very common, and I think the term daddy issues is a is a is a is as a result of some of the inadequacies of parenting in Nigeria. I was privileged to study about parental neglect, parental influence, and parental involvement. I got to know that the reason for many of our problems is as a result of the things we learned from our parents and significant others from childhood. That means that as you are a child, when you are a baby, some of the things you see your peers, your elders do are the things you feel are right. That is a theory by Albert Bandura. He believes that our learning, our behavior is shaped by we modeling what we see in our environment. And that is what we find in Nigeria today. The reason why you greet an elder when you are walking past them is because from your childhood you have been taught to do that. Yeah. Until today, it makes sense to you to always do that. If you are told otherwise, you believe it is wrong, right? And the reason why you are a Christian today is because from your early childhood, you have been taught that being a Christian is the right religion. If you go to Afghanistan, they are taught that being a Muslim is the right religion, and they will hold on to it until they are dead, unless through maybe some kind of interventions, some kind of spiritual intervention. That's to tell you that your foundation, the foundation, which is the first 5 years especially, is very, very important. So daddy issues is not about having some kind of issues with your father. It's about having some difficulties or having some challenges at childhood that will eventually become problems. Some people don't know how to handle breakups because from the kind of parenting they were exposed to, from the kind of parenting they were exposed to, their parents were always available for them. Their parents was always providing what they need, was always giving them without building that sense of independence in them. So they always feel this need for attachment, and they feel like they are not complete in themselves. So when they have issues with their boyfriend, when there's a breakup, you see them begging, you see them wanting to go back to that relationship because they feel like they have lost a part of themselves. They feel like they have lost something that does not represent their being, which is not supposed to be so. In fact, before you enter a relationship, you need to be sure that you are complete in yourself. And then this person is coming to add. And if they leave, you can also project yourself to the world and project yourself more, even optimally, without having this. So that is to tell you that these issues, some of these issues that we term daddy issues, are poor parenting. In fact, some of them are not even our fault. They are issues of poor parenting. And we can't help because as children, we have to follow what our parents say. Yeah. And eventually, it tells on who we become as adults.
Thank you, Daniel. We have to go on this break. And when we return, we are going to be diving straight into how do we access the mental health resources around us. And then I'll be sharing a story of someone that it's so obvious that childhood is affecting the type of adult she's turning out to be. Please stay with us. We'll be right back after this break. Thank you very much for joining us. You're welcome back to the show. This is still West Breakfast, hashtag what are you saying? And we are still having a conversation around how to resources to help us manage mental health issues. I mean, the resources around us for mental health support. I was going to tell a story of someone I know that she grew up in a home without a mother. Her mother died quite early, and her father got married to another person, and she suffered, first-class maltreatment, whereby she was called names, she was being called a witch by her father, by her stepmother, that nothing good will come out of her and all of that. Yeah, she's changed, she's not a Christian, but she still hears those words. Like each time she's all by herself, she still hears that word, oh, you are a witch. Nothing good will come out of you, like in pidgin and all of that. So it kind of like affected the way she thinks, her dating, relationship life, her view about life. She feels like, if I believe that, if I'm earning 100,000 in a month, it will be enough for me and I'll have enough. I'll send home and I'll still have extra. She believes that the money is enough. She still needs to meet someone for money. This same person was, I don't use the word raped, but she was raped like 2-3 times in her life, and she still feels like she needs to still meet someone and sleep with someone for money. And I always try to understand. There was a time I felt like, okay, I cannot be related with this person, but I later realized that we are different human beings. Our childhood was a bit rough, and in as much as I feel like, oh, you'd have overcome it, it's now 30 years, you're not 30 plus, should have probably left that type of life, but it's so hard to leave those things behind. And I want to ask you, Danny, are you still with us?
Yeah, sure,
Yes.
I'm still here.
Thank you. So now, how do we now access mental health resources? I know many of us are probably scared of going to meet a therapist because he will charge us thousands of dollars or millions of naira or something for just a session or for a full session. How do we, with the use of technology, which is rampant nowadays, how do we access mental health resources? Because most of us need help, which is the truth of the matter. We're just acting, smiling, hello and welcome to the news at 12, or just coming to work. How may I help you? But in the real sense, we are breaking down. That's why most of us, any little thing, we bust out and we want to devour the person into 12 pieces. So how do we now access mental health resources, and how do we stay better?
Okay. One thing we are doing at the non-governmental organization I belong to is creating awareness for some of these avenues where we can access mental health information, right? So currently, the leading one is supposed to be the Mental Health Foundation Nigeria. It's a non-governmental organization, and it's an international organization. In fact, it belongs to different countries. They have hubs in different countries, right? So the one for Africa, they are partnering with federal government of Nigeria and Lagos State government to provide mental health assistance, mental health support, mental health awareness for Nigerians. Although I've not had any physical encounter with them, any personal encounter with them throughout my journey in mental health awareness. I only got opportunity to meet Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative, which is the second body I'll talk about, because that is where I belong. The moment I saw them, it felt like home, because they were for the things I stood for. So what we do at Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative is we have volunteer counselors for people like this. However, for cases that has to do with rehabilitation, such as that of the story you just told me now, the person needs thorough, proper rehabilitation. It might cost money, because for now we don't have free rehabilitation services in Nigeria. We don't have such services. So it is necessary for such a person to find a way to meet with a professional that will take them through the journey of rehabilitation. Because if not, there's no way such a person can come out of that problem totally. You might have sessions with counselors, but without proper rehabilitation, that problem cannot go. So one of the channels I can recommend is the Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative. We have volunteer counselors that can meet with you for free to give you counseling, to give you guidance. We reach out to secondary schools, we reach out to universities. We have our student advocacy network in the University of Lagos. We are currently building one for Lagos State University. We have one at OAU, we have at University of Ibadan as well. So we are trying to we're trying to start this revolution from universities to ensure that we reach out to other parts of the Nigerian sector, apart from just educational sectors. We are going through education because we believe once we start from the educational sectors, once people leave school, they can also have this information at their beck and call, right? So another way you can get mental health interventions is through hospitals. General hospitals, for instance, they usually have experts that will take you through a series of mental health check. It's usually a check. They don't really do thorough rehabilitation. They can do a check and make prescriptions. But I don't think all Nigerian general hospitals have these outlets. You can try the one at Ikeja. I think they have the outlet there, right? Another, the most recommended one, since we talked about technology, is doing a personal self therapy. I recommend that because it looks like in Nigeria, the situation in Nigeria looks like we are in a state of emergency for the area of mental health. because we don't have so many experts, we don't have so many free services. So for people who cannot afford to pay for counselors or professional therapists, I'll recommend them going through a series of self-help. I will drop a link, or I'll drop several links that we can go through. These links may require you to read them, to understand them, to digest them, and then to apply some of these things, some of the steps you learn to your own personal life and see how they can help you in your day-to-day life. It may not be the perfect option for your problem, but it can definitely give you insights to understand your problem. You see, one thing is understanding the problem. Once you understand it, once you know the reason you're having the problem, then by yourself, if you want the problem to go, you should be willing to take the appropriate steps necessary to make that problem go. Then another one is social support. Support is, I mentioned it earlier as one of the approaches to mental health intervention. That's social intervention. Social support is basically sharing your problem with friends that you can trust, with your secret friends that you can trust with some of these issues. I have friends that call me and say, hey, Daniel, I have this child that was raped. Can you talk to her? I'm not a psychologist. I'm not because the basic qualification you can have to be certified a professional counselor, ideally, is master's degree, and I just have my first degree completed. So if you don't have a master's degree, you cannot be certified as a therapist. However, I can provide guidance. I cannot provide therapeutic interventions yet. So I speak to people who have had traumatic experiences, people who have mental health disorders, such as the light ones, depression. Depression is not light, don't mind me, but I'll call it light because depression, if it's not so deep, it may not require rehabilitation. It may just require just series of conversations to help them adjust, to help them feel supported. Sometimes what we need to feel better when we have a mental health breakdown is just support, to feel support from our friends. There's a story about a man whose legs were amputated because of war. That's a common story for people who go through depression. His legs were amputated due to war, and he could not do anything. So he felt like he was useless. He felt like he was useless. He felt like he couldn't function again in society. Then what his community did for him was that every day they would send at least 10 people to his house to meet with him, to talk to him, to share things with him, to let him know how things are going in society. Little by little, he began to feel safer. He began to feel like he was not a problem in society. He began to feel like a member of the society. And then before he knew it, he was able to adjust fully, and he was back again working and living like nothing had happened. Of course, something happened, but in his mind, he believes that this is what I am, this is the way I am now, and this is the limits I have. These are the limits I have, and this is how I can perform optimally based on my handicaps or based on my disabled situation. So it is a very, very powerful tool if you can use it. If you have people you can talk to, very, very important. If you have people you can talk to, you go to them. One of the problems with suicide, which is a leading cause of death among young people, is the feeling of loneliness, the inability to share your problems with other people. You feel like you are alone. Hence, you try to end it all because you feel like nobody needs you. That's the only situation, that's the only solution you can find to your problem. So finding someone in your community who you can talk to, or providing group support. As we all are here now, we can start a group support program for each and every one of ourselves by sharing our problems. This is something you see being done in Sena climes in America. You have community centers where people just, that round chair, you see people sit down, where they just share their problems and talk about it and support each other. Before you know it, little by little by little by little, it looks like I'm sure we must have seen it in movies when someone come for the first time and they feel like is rubbish they are doing there, and eventually they begin to see how people share their problems. So one way you can help yourself is by finding a support group, finding a group where you can share your problems, finding a group where you can talk to each other, where you can provide necessary support. Are you still with me, please?
Yes, we're still with you. Oluchi, you wanted to say something to
Yes, well, you've already touched it, but I would have loved if you had stretched it a bit. You know, I recently found out that one mental health issue that can easily be dismissed is actually stress. And it's easy to think that stress is just a regular, normal thing that can happen to you, and you shouldn't really consider it a mental health issue as such. And we're in a country where, I mean, if you step out of your house, you're getting to work, there's just a lot of things to think about, and you can easily be stressed. So that self-care tip you were talking about, I know there's the community stuff, but consider people that are introverts and consider people that probably might find it a bit difficult getting these communities first. So what's that first-hand self-care tip I can, inculcate in case I'm having to deal with extreme stress and fatigue with work or other engagements?
Okay, now stress is very relative, right? The way you said, once we step out of our house, there is stress, we are facing stress. That's very true. But then, when you are used to something and you feel like it is a necessity and it is the only way, or it is actually the only way for you to get to your need, then I don't think we can categorize it as stress. We can only call it when you are unable to perform based on those things, then we can say you are in a handicapped situation. Stress is when you have to do things that are out of what you are supposed to do. When you have to go through series of events that lead to a point where you feel like you have been overstretched, right? So if you are living in a country like Nigeria, let me use an instance. It's just like saying you are living in Nigeria and you are a secondary school student and you think it is stress for you to be in a class that is overcrowded. That is the situation we have in Nigeria. It is normal for a class, a public school classroom, to be overcrowded in Nigeria. And if you want to learn, you need to adjust to it. You can't call that stress. But when you bring someone who has been in a better facility for learning, when you bring such a person to Nigeria, then they will face stress adjusting. So I think we might call that a deficit in their intelligence capability. That is their ability to adapt to their situation. So in Nigeria, we are very strong people. We are very resilient people. Now, where stress now comes into play is when you have to go through series of these events without getting appropriate rest, without getting appropriate food, without getting appropriate sleep. That's when you find out that this stress is beginning to tell on you mentally. But apart from that, so most of the things we go through here, they are very difficult situations. And most times, you will find that they are impossible situations that you yourself, for you to be alive, in fact, you need to adjust to these things. I'm saying this because we are in Nigeria. And I know it is stress for me to have to stand under the sun to wait for bus, right? It is intense stress for me because I don't like it. But then, should I say that because it is stress for me, I should not go out every day? No, I wouldn't call that a better way to live, right? So we need to understand that some things that we have to go through, I think that's the first step to understanding that stress as a mental health problem. Understanding that some things that you call stress because of the kind of life you want to live, instead of the kind of life you should accept based on your current situation. We need to understand that this is what I have to go through for me to be able to get to where I want to get to. So if you call it stress, well, you can call it that. But then you shouldn't make it inconvenience yourself or other people, because you cannot, if you want to not be stressed, then you should just stay in your house and sleep. But even at that, hunger will stress you. So that's why I call them impossible situations, where you have to adjust to the situation in order to reach. Sorry, I have to move.
Thank you very
You
much,
have to
Daniel.
adjust to the
At
situation.
time, thank you very much, Daniel. This is the much we can take on today's episode. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for also explaining to us that there are some groups that can help listen to, that offer free therapy and free counseling sessions to people. I think just the name, I need you to take the name of those support groups again, how we can reach out to them.
Okay, there are phone numbers, and there are websites. So I'll send them to you through Oluchi.
Okay.
I'll send you the links, I'll send you the phone numbers,
All right.
so that you can have them broadcasted.
All right. To you and viewers, we'll drop them in our comment section. Please feel free to go there and then seek the help you need. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining me this morning. Thank you. Let's do this again tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Bye now.